Bardacha, life in the wetlands. Bardacha, an invaluable nature reserve, not only for its immediate surroundings, but for all Europe. We may refer to it as a habitat, biotopes, a wildlife reserve, or an important rich source of biodiversity. But one thing is certain, this wetland complex remains a uniquely precious gem of nature. Over the centuries, Bardacha's resources have attracted people to settle in it, depend on it for their survival, and enjoy its many riches. This film is a story of the area's distant past and the recent events preceding this project, our Bardacha, and ensure a better future for it and its inhabitants, people, flora, and fauna. Go back a few thousand years into the past. There are some very important archaeological sites in the broader area of Bardacha. Donja Dolina, a site of great archaeological value, which remains to be more fully explored, and several sites dating back to Roman times, including the newly discovered necropolis in Cladari. These sites can offer a lot, awaiting to be open for visitors, tourists who will come to see, stay in, and enjoy the area as it is today, who will experience its power to nourish, exhilarate, and inspire, but also warn and punish severely, not only with flooding and drought. These and other sites enable the development of tourism using local archaeological richness. The past has bequeathed us riches, which are mainly underground. Do we have enough wisdom to pass it to our offspring more than economic poverty, polluted nature, hopelessness, and spiritual emptiness? Our project represents an attempt to change the trend which has so far been negative. Let us give Bardacha its charms and soul back. Join us as active participants, not only as passive onlookers. Increasingly unpopular water, soil, or air polluters, or, even worse, as someone who will deprive their own children of the chance to live happily in the future. Located in the valleys of the Sava and Verbus rivers, lying on a rich aquifer, a thick mass of gravel enclosing an invisible underground river. This area used to be frequently flooded by both surface and groundwater. The rich Trstenac spring gained water from Lievice Polje aquifer, quenched mowers' thirst, and refreshed bathers who neither knew nor needed modern swimming pools or beaches. The local people were accustomed to living in extreme weather conditions and outliving natural disasters, floods and droughts, hot summers, and freezing winters. But this area also opened its arms to disclose rich land and pastures, clear whirlpools and old riverbeds full of fish and game, shadowy forests with age-old trees, which not even 3 men could encompass with their arms, as people used to say imaginatively. People used to joke about how local children knew how to swim before they could walk, about how they caught fish with their bare hands. Today, they are forced to live in urban environments, often suffering from 2 things: nostalgia or sorrow over destroyed nature. The second, allergy to dust, with their senses used to completely different qualities from an early age, the smells of meadows and variety of aquatic plants. Intensive economic exploitation in the area began with the mass felling of old oak and ash forests at the time of Austro-Hungarian rule, taking away its most important asset and leaving it greatly impoverished. On seeing the natural potential of the wetland, Mr. Bardacha started fish farming in Bardacha. This tradition has continued for over 100 years with ups and downs through phases of harmonious activity with nature and its roots and degradation. Bardacha was economic growth in the 1960s and 1970s. Its importance came from fish farming and a more intensive development of tourism. In order to solve the issue of its exposure to natural disasters, droughts and floods, major hydraulic works were undertaken in this area in the 1950s and 1960s. Embankments were constructed, drainage canals dug, pumping stations built, helping to drain the area and protect it against further flooding. However, at the same time, these works cut river courses, disturbed the natural balance of wetland habitats, and partly disturbed the natural order in the development of the area's flora and fauna. Intensive hydraulic works greatly improved the conditions of living and agriculture in particular, but they also changed Bardacha's landscape, destroying some of its environmental assets. The old Stubliaya River was cut in order to build drainage canals, and the Osorna-Borna-Lievchanica Canal to supply water to the fish pond, leaving its bed dry and sad. In time, it has been turned into a dump. Bardacha did not make it possible for its inhabitants to exploit it economically for profit. It has been a source of inspiration for people with imagination and artistic talents, many artists and writers. For more than 20 years, Bardacha has hosted an art colony, gathering a varying number of painters, sculptors, and other artists who would spend a week or two in the area, producing works of art inspired by its beauty. On the other hand, these works express the reunion of nature and human spirit. They protest against human negligence and greed. The art colony has become a traditional event and will continue for and in the future, we hope other artists, sculptors, potters, and others will join the painters. As a guest participant in this project dedicated to the ecosystem of Bardacha wetlands, I am here today to present a part of what it can offer people in order to better and improve this area. There's a kaolin mine nearby, and this natural resource can artists and professional potters with small and large private businesses which will contribute to the efforts to revive this area. Now, after a period in which Bardacha has suffered from devastation caused indirectly by war, disruption of economic activity, people's poverty, moral degradation, and non-existence of business etiquette and morality, the time has come for it to shine again in its full splendor, new life. team of over 50 local and international scientists and experts, led by Professor Chedo Maksimovic, has designed a project to inspire and ensure balanced economic development, which will at the same time protect Bardacha as a nature reserve and enrich its offer with a range of completely
Ovaj projekat je zamišljen da se posle jednog dugog perioda.
The idea underlying this project is to activate Bardacha's existing dormant resources after a long period of stagnation and environmental devastation of its space, and stir the passive governments of Republika Srpska, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and its broader surroundings, as well as the local authorities of the municipalities of Srbac, Baktashi, and Gradiška, to use this gem of nature, this precious area, for attractive economic and environmental development. In designing this project, we have tried to make it possible for the area's authorities, population, and broader surroundings to use its invaluable resources for stable, long-term, good-quality economic growth. Such growth would activate the area's resources and ensure its environmental conservation. In its first phase, the project analyzed in detail the water resources, soil, population, flora, fauna, hydrogeology, mineral deposits, etc. I believe we have succeeded in this, and it will be the responsibility of future generations to use our achievements and rely on Bardacha for their future, which will look completely different in 10 to 15 years, more beautiful and attractive, with plenty of visitors, a far richer development program, and a more interesting offer for those who wish to spend their time here. The first phase of the project life was to use a modern approach to analyze all Bardacha's resources. These findings have been translated into the language of modern information technology and prepared for the generations to come, who will be able to study and use them for development and modernization plans, but also preserve the quality and characteristics of water, soil, air, wildlife, and typical demographic profile of this area. The information obtained has been presented in a graphic form, easily comprehensible to both lay people and experts. A large number of experts have been engaged: river engineers, hydrogeologists, engineers of forestry and agriculture, biologists, ecologists, geographers, lawyers, economists, analysts who conducted additional analysis of water quality, soil, flora, and fauna. All these data were processed and presented in the GIS format.
We anticipate that this central, let's say, database of environmental information will assist full-scale economic redevelopment of the area. The view that we've taken from the very beginning is that environmental resources on their own are good enough, but to be able to sustain an environmentally friendly development, you have to use these resources in conjunction with sustainable economic development. This has been one of the main features and main goals of this project: how to enclose, how to build upon, let's say, environmental sound practices in order to maintain an economically viable community. And I think we have succeeded this in quite a substantial degree.
The multi-layered GIS mapping of our analyses, showing the diversity of flora and fauna, hydrogeology, water resources, population, forests, agriculture, and other segments, enable an integral approach in examining and evaluating possible prospects in terms of support to different activities which will not affect the chances of future generations to live better and protect this environment. Anthropogenic factors have been analyzed, focusing on the population profile, ages, and education. This information helps determine what human resources can be used in the further development of Bardacha. Also, culture, tradition, and other similar factors have been examined. Bardacha's richest natural resource is water, both surface and underground. Groundwater has always replenished small water streams in this area, while at the same time of high waters of the Sava and Verbas rivers, it contributed to flooding. This resource has been damaged by human activities, negligence, and lack of care, which is evident from the drastic worsening of water quality and accumulation of solid waste coming from households, agricultural and industrial activities in very important ecological reserves, such as the valleys of the Matura, Stubliaia, and Brzaia rivers, and along the Verbas and Sava. A team of biologists, including Professors Nedovic, Radovic, Matavuli, and Olga Petrovic, have explored the rich flora and fauna of this area. And Professor Radovic will say something more about this.
Na slivnom području Vrbasa, Bardacha je veoma interesantan
The ecosystem of the Verbas-Bardacha water basin is very interesting. This is a wetland with numerous plant species of great interest. Our research has shown the occurrence of approximately 280 plants as underground or submersed plants, immersed plants, and inundated forest plants, some of which are also endemic or relics. Many of these plants can be used to help as some are medicinal, some can be grown for decoration, while others can be used for many other different purposes.
Kompleks Bardače se nalazi na aluvijalnoj ravni sa veoma značajnim močvarno-barskim
Bardacha is
ekosistemom.
part of an alluvial plain and represents a very important wetland ecosystem. This area is a natural laboratory which is at the same time a scientific and research center, sports and recreation grounds, and a tourist resort. In terms of its biodiversity, Bardacha is home to many species of importance, not only Herzegovina, but also for southeastern Europe. Of all these, I would like to mention its fish population, as the complex hosts 32 different species. Bardacha's birds are also worth a mention. According to the data, 178 bird species occur here. Out of these 178 species, 84 nest in the different biotopes of this area. There are many species which occasionally visit Bardacha for rest or shelter.
Radi odmora ili radi zaklona se zadržavaju na kompleksu Bardače.
The project proposes a modern concept of economic growth based on local resources and most recent findings and achievements in the field of sustainable development worldwide, which will help this generation of local people to live more fully and richly, but at the same time, future generations to live even better than their ancestors. To accomplish this, a spatial development is designed. Professor Milenko Stankovic presents this plan.
Plan prostornog razvoja Bardače je osmišljen da u ovom ekološki osjetljivom sistemu.
The plan of Bardacha's spatial development has been designed to secure this ecologically sensitive system, respecting the principles of sustainable development, combining economic, ecological, and social aspects. Our research of the ecosystem of Bardacha's protected area has analyzed features in order to determine guidelines for its economic development in balance with the natural capacities and resources. We have defined 7 separate uses of the space within 3 protection zones. The first, 0 zone, requires the conservation of the natural ecosystem, where the system will be able to sustain itself without human presence. The role of the second, buffer zone, is to protect the first one and enable its undisturbed existence. The third zone will secure the economic prosperity of the whole area. All activities will be permitted, providing they respect the area's natural resources and environmental aspects. A range of activities has been outlined and proposed with respect to the area's capacity, which have development and will stimulate further improvement of the local standard of living. At the same time, this will be a magnet to develop not only Bardacha, but Srbac municipality as a whole, its adjacent municipalities, the region of Lijeveće Polje, and all of Republika Srpska. So far, the area of this nature reserve, Bardacha Wetlands, has only been protected administratively. We have tried to view it in its entirety and, using an integral approach, design a plan of legal action and protection, securing that the conservation plan is really put into effect. The planners consistently respected the need to conserve Bardacha's environment, securing that all human activity is in balance with the area's natural capacity. The consideration of Bardacha's resources and of the principles of sustainable development has enabled the cohesion of economic, ecological, and social components, resulting in the conception of a long-term plan of Bardacha's development. The plan of spatial development, which Professor Stankovic has presented, asks for a modern approach in developing agriculture so as to allow special uses of the area to support ecotourism, which is tourism based on accommodating visitors in genuine settings environment, which will offer them to experience local tradition and cuisine. The plan will also create opportunities to develop kinds of scientific tourism in the form of seminars, conferences, and school trips to study the characteristics of the area, along with cultural and entertainment events. Part of this area will be reserved for the development of and their fast inclusion in the overall economic growth. It will be divided into two zones, one of water sports, while the other will provide space for land sports, such as football, handball, and volleyball. The development plan will be implemented by local municipal authorities who need to adopt it, authorities who need to approve the plan and make it an official document. All future construction in this area will have to abide by strict environmental principles of nature conservation in order to ensure healthy and clean water, healthy soil, and proper conditions for development. The implementation of the development plan will depend on the actions of local authorities and self-organization of the local population. It is extremely important that local people are not only fully informed, but also allowed to operate successfully as long as they respect the principles of sustainable development. All participants in the process of implementation will have to adhere to certain rules of conduct or business and environmental etiquette. Will engage in their own activity or business in a manner that will not endanger other activities or businesses, with mutual respect and respect for the principle of protection, primarily resource exploitation, care for water, air and soil quality, so that their natural qualities are not disturbed in the process of exploitation. Owners of restaurants, fish ponds, sport facilities, small tourist agencies, and generally will be given a chance to join the association, and they will be expected to abide by the standards prescribed. These rules will specify that no business activity can be run to endanger other businesses or Bardacha's environment. Those who break these rules may be excluded from the process and banned to continue their activity in the area. Local authorities, organizations, and different inspection bodies will play an important role in the implementation of the Plan of Economic Development and Standards of Conduct. It is crucial that fundamental environmental laws are consistently implemented and improved. Any breach of these rules will compromise the area's reputation and status, and will consequently cause the perpetrators to lose their work permits. The process of globalization, with its negative aspects, is likely to affect Bardacha as well. We expect the unique qualities of the area will become widely known, bringing an increasing number of visitors from other regions and countries who will be coming to enjoy its beauty. Others might wish to be involved in some forms of cooperation. Perhaps in the beginning, this will take the form of information dissemination and exchange. This might be cases of joint participation in international projects. This means more foreign trade at Bardacha, and a serious offer of special products will be expected. Not only agricultural produce, but also works of art, information, and so on. The project life license will succeed only if its continuity is maintained, if its achievements are accepted not only by entrepreneurs, but all local population, its broader environment, local authorities, and young people in particular, who will accept new business ways and ensure continuous development of the area. The project is to primarily ensure that the area's graphic presentation, or its visual identity, is easily recognized. We expect visitors to come to Bardacha to refresh their spirit, be reunited with, and spend some pleasant time here, which will inspire them to come again, making its setting appear more beautiful, pleasanter, and nobler.